Meditation and mindfulness practices based on meditation traditions of South and East Asia. When we hold our tensions inside ourselves, we feel the stress as body pain, medical problems, or mental unwellness. Exercise, diet, sleep, and sometimes medication helps relieve the stress. In addition, meditation is a powerful way to release the stress and pressures that we experience. A practice that can be as simple as breath awareness. In the Foundation, meditation is a process that includes many non-religious mindfulness practices that can be done by anyone, anywhere, at any time. If you can breathe, you can meditate. Dr. Stephen Parker is trained in Swami Rama's School of Himalayan Yoga and is a senior meditation teacher and an experienced yoga teacher trainer. He is a clinical psychologist and has written on the intersections of neuroscience and traditional yoga. He explains the neuroscience of meditation and the profound impact of breath awareness, especially in creating long-term changes in how we react to stressful situations.
Let me begin talking about breath awareness from the observation that every meditative tradition, no matter what cultural tradition it comes from in the world, begins with the awareness of breath, all of them. And there are good reasons for that in the structure of the human brain and nervous system. And I want to talk for a moment about some of the neural correlates of intentional breath awareness. The practice of meditation in the yoga tradition as well as in the Buddhist traditions, and there actually is very little difference between these two, even though some theoreticians and some practitioners try to maintain a difference and a distinction between them. They both begin from what the yogis call prana, apana, anusmriti, or what in Pali, the Pali language of Buddhism, is referred to as anapanasati. It's the same word, the same term, and it's the same practice, the conscious awareness of the flow of breath in your nostrils. Now, a number of really interesting things happen when you begin to intentionally follow the feeling of breath flowing in your nostrils. You begin to practice what we call in neuroscience mindful awareness. In the structure of your brain and nervous system, the part in your forehead, just behind the middle of your forehead, is the last part of the brain to evolve. In that regard, you can think of it as the most human part of the brain. It's called the middle prefrontal cortex. And that middle prefrontal cortex is the part of your brain and nervous system that organizes and integrates the rest, the whole of it. Not just the part that's contained within your brain, because what we know now in the latter days of neuroscience is that your whole body really is brain from top to toe. Every organ system in your body participates in the activity of the brain. And so all of that activity, all the input of awareness and knowledge and information and all of the organization of our behavior happens through this medial prefrontal cortex, which, footnote to the yoga system, is identified in the yogic system of chakras as the Ajna chakra, the command center chakra. And so the yogis certainly had an intuitive sense of this aspect of neural functioning. So a number of things happen when you stimulate the middle prefrontal cortex. One of them is that you switch on the parasympathetic relaxation system in your nervous system. And this is really important, especially in modern times, because we spend a lot of time, and especially in these days of the disruption of the COVID virus, being stressed out. Our nervous system is biased in the direction of responding to threats. And so it's very easy and automatic for us to initiate a stress response. And for many of us, we end up initiating that many times during the day to the point where we end up being continually activated. Our stress response ends up being continually activated. And there's a real functionality to it being so automatic, because when you confront a deadly threat, you don't want to have to think about how to respond. You need to have some responses: fighting, fleeing, or freezing, ready to go. And so that's part of the reason why the stress system is so automatic. The relaxation system, the relax and rest and restore system part of your nervous system, is something that requires intentionality. You have to decide to relax. You don't have to decide to get stressed out, but you have to intend shifting your attention in order to turn on the relaxation system. Fortunately, once that intention is there, the switch is very easy to find. It's right under your nose, basically. It's just feeling the flow of breath in your nostrils. That's what switches the relaxation system on. And so the parasympathetic branch of your autonomic nervous system immediately begins to relax you as soon as you begin to consciously attend to your breath. Now, one of the really important things that happens with awareness when you begin to consciously attend to your breath is that it makes the part of your brain and nervous system that carries your conditionings and your habits go into the background. So there's another part of your brain and nervous system, which we refer to in neuroscience as the default mode network, which was discovered in the 1980s. They noticed in doing experiments with an MRI machine, where you would give somebody a task and put them in the machine to see what parts of their brain light up. One research group asked the interesting question, which parts of the brain go quiet? And it turns out it was always the same parts. And this series of structures is what's responsible for your habitual sense of self, for the sense of yourself that you have when you're not paying particular attention to anything. Think of it as your brain on autopilot. But it's also your brain driven by all your habits and conditionings. And when you start to consciously pay attention to your breath, that part of your brain and nervous system goes quiet. And the middle prefrontal cortex begins to reorganize that whole system. And so in the process of changing important habits and conditionings that you have, mindful awareness really helps in the process of making that work, even at the practical level of how the neurons reorganize themselves in your brain. So there's a real sense of harmony at this point between the discoveries of contemporary neuroscience and what the yogis have had to say for centuries about how to live your life. And that's why really all systems of meditation and spiritual practice function on the basis of this awareness.
This concept of breath awareness, yoga describes in pranayama as the regulation of the flow of vital energies in the body, with breath being the subtle connection between body and mind. The three components of a breath are inhalation, exhalation, and the space between the two. While stress response is default survival mode that is automatic, relaxation is a deliberate and intentional practice. When someone practices pranayama, deliberate breath awareness, research studies show that there is an increase in calmness, relaxation, and mental clarity. There are several breathing exercises, each one offering a distinct positive impact on a person's wellness, lowering the stress level and improving the general wellness. Common results include a decrease in blood pressure, heart rate, and emotional reactivity, with some breathing exercises also decreasing agitation, frustration, and anger. Physical relaxation and corresponding decrease in stress and tension is a common outcome of pranayama. Looking at other East Asian meditation traditions, The focus or object of concentration can vary from one tradition to the other. However, the actual meditation process does involve breath awareness, and two common aspects emerge across these traditions. Venerable Guanzen, a descendant of the Shan meditation tradition, describes these two shared aspects of samatha and vipassana. Venerable Guan is a scholar in Buddhist studies with a master's in social work and divinity. He describes samatha as those practices that calm and settle a restless mind, and vipassana as insight meditation that creates lasting changes in our mind.
And our tradition is the practice of samatha and vipassana, which means that samatha means to stop, vipassana means to investigate. How we humans suffering along most of the time, and how we suffering through the whole life. Even you have to face in all the situations that you mentioned about anxiety in life with your works, or even the biggest one, griefs with losing loved one. So for our practice, we, like I mentioned, we use the samatha and vipassana. So basically, samatha is that because of the mind is telling stories, each moment after each moment, the mind just cannot stop telling stories. Once our faculties, our eye, our ear, our touch, our smell, and even our thoughts contact with the phenomena. So the mind is kind of telling all the stories. For example, anxiety with your working environments, because of the phenomena you are contact with. Either the person, the job you're taking, or your colleagues you're working with, that all these phenomena that make you anxious. And for our practice is that you use the samatha first to stop all these mental faculties telling story. To stop it first. For example, stop your thoughts, your perceptions, those unskillful or unskilled perceptions. Once you stop it, then you develop vipassana to look at it. And vipassana is to look at how would I feel stressed? How would I feel anxious? And if you understand the teaching of sanyata, the teaching of the emptiness, then you realize that all these things, all these feelings, all these anxiety depends on conditions. So they are depending on conditions. They have the moment of origin, the moment of staying, and then there must be a moment of the decline or fading away. So we call it the dependent origination of all things. It has no intrinsic nature of itself. So the samatha, use the samatha to stop your mind telling story. That's first step. Then employ vipassana to investigate, and then reach the point of transformation. The point of transformation we call the development of wisdom that leading to the liberation from suffering.
Drawing from traditions from South and East Asia, VIA Foundation offers customized training programs in stress relief using multiple meditation and mindfulness practices such as breath awareness, music meditation, loving kindness, insight, metta, heartfulness meditations, and many others. The program is tailored to meet your needs. It includes components of breathing exercises, mindfulness training, stress reduction, along with practice home meditation apps and non-meditational recommendations that we provide. Participants are supported with learning resources and practice at home meditation apps per their individual preferences. Teachers are available for consultations and guidance as each participant develops their own meditation habit to better manage life stressors. Please contact us for further details and to schedule a complimentary meditation session with one of our meditation teachers. Thank you for viewing this video.